Okay, so I'm in this motel room and I am starving. The only thing we have to eat is some Doritos and some protein bars, and they trying to charge me $5 for a chicken sandwich, $10 for a plate, and just some chicken or rice or something. That's normal price, but I don't have that much money, so I'm not gonna worry about it. I want to tell y'all about a vision. When I was asleep just now, before I woke up, I had a vision, and God said they being wicked. That's the first thing that the Lord told me. He said they just being wicked. He said they just being wicked, and wasn't no nudity or anything like that. That's my dress, just to let y'all know. But God said they just being wicked. He already knew what they was gonna start doing to me today, and I didn't even know I was asleep, and he had already warned me. He said they just being wicked. They just being wicked. And so then God said, there was people bringing me females trying to have sex with me. So there were females that were trying to force me to have sex with them as well, and trying to give me money and stuff like that. And for some reason, God wanted y'all to know that. And then there was males transporting me from motel to motel, and God wanted me to know that, wanted me to let y'all know that there was black females trying to force me to have sex with them, and there was black males that was transporting me from location to location. And then God had said something about a pink laptop that I had. I had a pink laptop in December 2019. So I was with a man named Jakiba, and it was right before the custody hearing where Tracy said that Cynthia did not have to give me back my son. They released me from the Montgomery County Jail August 22nd, and they trafficked me to several different people. The charges against me were dropped, but they were trafficking me, and I was pregnant. They were trafficking me to different people, black people. And then they were putting me out of their home and then picked me up and trafficked me to somebody else. And then I met a man named Jakiba, and I didn't know that he was involved because I met him online on POF. But all the men that I was meeting was setting me up because the entire country was trying to do it. So I didn't know he was involved. And he said I could come and live with him, and I told him that I was pregnant, but God wanted me to talk about the laptop. Well, Jakiba bought me a laptop, and supposedly it was a reward, like he was giving me whatever I wanted because, I was giving him my body and I was doing what he wanted me to do, but I was protecting myself, like using protection. But God was like, the laptop, well, the pink laptop he bought for me, it wasn't like in exchange for sex, but he got paid. We went to Walmart. He didn't really want to buy it, but he told me that he would buy me one day. And then he said I could get it, and then he started trying to change his mind, and he bought me the laptop from the Walmart, and it was about $300. It was a pink laptop, and I was on the laptop working on my case at 2123 Eagle Ferry Road in Chambers County. And it was before the custody hearing. So Tracy Gilbert had already let me win the custody hearing in the jail against Austin and Cynthia, but then he kept trying to set court dates to still try to keep my son from me. He told me he was going to give me my baby when I got out of the jail and bring him the evidence that I was not guilty for protecting myself. And I told him God said I was getting out. So I bring the evidence to Tracy in December 2019. He set a court date for December 6, 2019 for me to come and get my son from Cynthia, but they had all the black people trafficking me and setting me up to put me out their house after like a couple days, a few days, a week or two. They was putting me out. and they was trying to make it to where they could say I did not have a home, that I was homeless, and they had people trying to have drugs around me, and they had them trying to be hostile in whatever environments I was in, to try to make it seem like I did not have a stable place to stay, so I could not get my son from her. And so the pink laptop, I remember we went to the first custody court date, December 6, 2019, and I had a job. I was staying with Jakiba and them, and Jakiba told me I could stay in another room by myself, but then he told me that that was his mom's room and that she was going to come from out of town and he couldn't let me stay in the room. And he did the same thing to me that a man named Colin did. So everybody was trying to stop me from having my own space so I could get my son. And then they had a man named Travis Gums having sex with me in the house too. So they were setting me up like I was prostituting, and they had weed, and they were setting me up like I was on drugs. And then I was crying about my son to God, and they had Travis pulling guns out on me and putting the gun to my head in the trailer and telling me to shut up or he was going to shoot me. And I was crying about my son and how everybody was setting me up to try to make it seem like I could not get my son. And then they were trying to pretend like they loved me and cared about me. And then Jakiba had a brother named Jakimba, and he had a girlfriend named Judy. And then they was outside shooting guns in the back of the trailer. And then I had to go out there and ask them to stop shooting, because what if one of them bullets come through the window or something? And then they were shooting with white people. The white people over there were shooting and stuff too. And so then they had Travis pull a gun out on me another time when I told him I did not want to have sex with him no more. I didn't want to be with him. And then they were trying to say I couldn't eat their food in their house after they had told me I could. And then I didn't realize they was trying to starve me. And then Travis had pulled a gun on me and was like, oh, I'll cut your body up and I'll put your body in the woods. And then so around the custody hearing, Jakiba, Jakimba, and Judy went with me to the custody hearing. They knew Austin was abusing me, and they was trying to make it a hostile environment. I had a job at Sonic, and then Jakiba was trying to say his car broke down before the custody hearing to try to stop making me go to work. And then Judy was saying she would take me to work, but that she would not take me to my son of the custody hearing. So now I'll tell you how it ended up being 2 custody hearings. So Cynthia was supposed to return my son to me December 6, 2019, but instead she went to try to fight me for custody of my baby instead of just saying, I know that Austin was abusing her, and I just kept him long enough for her to get out on the charges for protecting herself. And here he is. He can go back to his mother. She knew that I raised my son right, never did anything wrong with my child, but she wanted to retaliate and told me in the jail that she wanted to rape my boy and kill him. So then she was over there in the courtroom trying to go through Tracy to say she did not ever have to give him back. And so Judge Tracy Gilbert had set that court date, and I showed up with Judy, and Jakimba stayed outside, but Jakiba, the black guy, came in the courtroom with me, because I wanted there to be a witness to see that I had the evidence. I had the 911 calls. I had a job. I had a place to stay. It wasn't the best place to stay. That's why I was nervous about even coming, but I still could get an apartment because I had a job. And so Tracy gonna lie when I came in there and say, oh, you didn't take the parenting class I told you to take. They never told me to take a parenting class, and I didn't need to take a parenting class because I was not the one that was abusing the boy. Austin was abusing him. And then Tracy had the nerve to give Austin custody of my son while I was in the jail, and Austin got arrested for supposedly being violent again. And then Tracy said that Cynthia could keep him until I got out. And then Tracy told me, he was like, okay, I see that Austin was abusing you and trying to abuse his mama in her house. And he said, when you get out, bring me the evidence that he was abusing you, and I'll give you your son. So I got out and came with the evidence that he was abusing me, and now Tracy was lying and saying that, oh, I told you to take a parenting class. I said, no, you did not. I said, because if you told me to take a parenting class and gave me from August 22nd to the point when I got out, August 22nd, 2019, all the way up to December 2019, I would have had time to take the parenting class. I would have took it, because that's August, September, October, November, December. I would have took the parenting class. That was 3 months, because the court date was set for December 6th. I got out August 22nd. So that wasn't a whole month. So I'm just counting September, October, and November. That's 3 months for me to take a parenting class. If he would have actually told me that he wanted me to do it, even though I wasn't the one who was abusing the child, I still would have took the class. You know what I'm saying? Just to get my son, so he couldn't say nothing bad about me when I came in there asking them to return my child to me. And I knew that if I had my child, there was nowhere that nobody could say, oh, we're not gonna take her and that baby in. She can't get an apartment for her. God said we qualify for HUD, first of all. But let me go back to the custody hearing. So when I showed up, he lied in front of a whole courtroom of people and said that he told me to take a parenting class. And I said, you did not, and your staff did not. And I had my email account where they never sent me any notification to take a parenting class, because I did not have a phone number. When they first started doing the custody hearing stuff, they were like, how can we contact you? I said, I'm incarcerated, I don't have a phone. Send everything to my email. They sent a couple of papers about the court date to my email, and then went and erased them, because they know that they never sent me anything about a child parenting class. They asked me about my income, but they never asked me to take a parenting class. So now on the day of the trial, where I'm about to win against Cynthia with all the evidence that her son was abusing me and my child, and that the charges was dropped, they knew that they let me out the jail with this baby still in my body. So they had every intention of murdering me and not returning the boy. And so then they had my family, nobody supporting me. Nobody, not a friend showed up with me and said she was abused, the charges dropped, now we want y'all to give her baby. Not a family member, because they knew Cynthia threatened to rape him, and then they was trying to help Cynthia steal and abduct him from me for this little Satanist coven. And so they had me with a strange man named Jakiba that I had been staying with, and I didn't know he was involved with the setup. So when I said, y'all never told me to take the custody hearing, he started trying to yell at me, and he started trying to call me a liar, and I was like, I'll just take the class. So then he set the court date for 2 days later, like just 2 days later, 1, 2, 3 days later, which didn't give me that much time to take the parenting class. So the trial for my son, the family court case, was in Conroe, Texas. They had me all the way in Chambers County, which is like 2-hour drive, like an hour, 45-minute drive. So Jakiba claimed that his car broke down around the time for the custody hearing. So now he's claiming he can't move me around to go do the parenting class. He can't take me to work. He can't take me to the court date, and I knew something was wrong, because he was outside on the phone, and they was coming in the house with guns and threatening to shoot guns in the house. Jakiba threatened to shoot a gun in the house, and his brother Jakimba threatened to shoot a gun in the house, and Judy was back there shooting. So I didn't realize that they had me in a hostage situation while they was trying to stop me from getting my son back, and then trying to stop me from getting medical care as well, because I had Jakiba take me to Chambers County Clinic, where they tried to have me arrested for trying to get medical care for the baby, and then they had me falling all outside in front of the Baytown Hospital and brought me in there and tried to tell me that it was something else, and then tried to have me taking a bottle of pills trying to kill the baby. And then so they refused to give us the medical care, basically. And then so I tried to take the parenting class, and I didn't have anybody to take me, and then the class was $50, and all the money that Jakiba was giving me was for food, and I was pregnant. And so I called up to Judge Tracy courtroom, and I recorded it on my laptop. So the laptop had a microphone, and I recorded the conversation. And I talked to his courtroom staff, and I said, ma'am, I have a family court hearing coming up for custody of my son. And I said, Tracy asked for me to take a parenting class. I said, but I don't have enough time before the court date to take the parenting class. I don't have a ride, and I do not have the money for the class. And I want you to let him know that I tried to do it, but I will be at the court date. And then she said, okay, I will let him know, and I recorded it. And then I had other recordings of me being in people's homes and crying about being pregnant and nobody helping me, and then them taking my boy and threatening to rape my baby, and everybody trying to set me up like I was homeless. And then so the woman on the phone, I said, she tried to tell me, she was like, well, I'll tell Tracy that you called or whatever. And I said, ma'am, do we really even have to go through with a custody hearing? And I said, because these people threatened to molest my baby. And I started crying. And I said, this woman, Cynthia, threatened to molest my baby. And I started crying. And then I called to try to get a visit with him, because they was trying to make me go through a facility to say that I had to have supervised visitation with my son, and that I had to pay them $300 for the visit. And my sister was saying she would pay it for me, and I was like, just help me get my birth certificate. I'll give you the money for my birth certificate, order my birth certificate. And then I said, I'm finna get him back, so don't worry about paying all that money for visits, because they trying to make it seem like I'm violent, like I can't be around my baby, and they know the evidence is saying that I was protecting him and that Austin was being violent. So I was not about to let them make me go through a facility like I was some crazy mental woman that could not be around my child. And God said, if they was not there to protect him, then they don't have no business trying to say that his mother was wrong for protecting him. And God was like, I was protecting my son, and I had a right to protect my son. And he said, don't no white woman have no right to try to say that I did not have the right to protect my child, because she was not there to protect him when it all went down. I was. So ain't no I'm violent and can't be around my son. I got violent because I had to protect him, and they know that, and that's why they trying to murder me. And then so my sister was trying to make it seem like she was gonna pay for the visit. So I had got tired when I was at my sister's home in September 2019, and I said, Shakina, will you still pay for the visit so I can see my son? I just want to see him. And she said, oh, well, I don't have the money right now. Let me look at my account. So I was like, I peeped what she was doing, because God already told me my little sister was gonna try to be wicked and let them murder me in the jail, knowing that I was innocent and pregnant, and not buy me out after she said she was gonna buy me out. He told me to show me that my little sister was gonna try to be wicked and help Cynthia abduct my child by putting me out of her home before the custody hearing, and by trying to not acknowledge the fact that I was pregnant and that you could tell that I was pregnant. And then so I called this office because I wanted to see my child, and I called the lady and I said, ma'am, I said, these people, this lady threatened to molest my son, and y'all trying to make me go through her and pay money, because I wanted to see how much money it was, and they kept adding on to more money. At first they were saying it was 100 and something, then they were saying it's another 100 and something, and then they tried to say I had to pay them 300 plus 100 and something each visit, and it was like too much money to see my child, so they was holding him ransom from me, and then threatening to rape him, and then trying to make me give y'all money to see him. And it was like, you're trying to extort me for money, and then threatening to rape him, and got gang members having me in the house around the court hearing, holding guns to my head and shooting. And then so I started crying, and I recorded it, and the lady was like, well, ma'am, you got to pay the money. And I was screaming. I said, so they threatened to molest my baby, and you talking about I got to pay you money? You talking about I got to go through a courtroom, and y'all got the evidence that he was abusing me? The charges against me were dropped, and the white woman just didn't care at all. So 2 days later, it was time for me to go to the court, the next court date that he set for me to get my child from Cynthia. And Judy was telling me she would not take me to the court date, and Jakiba's car was broke down, and so her and Jakimba was like they wasn't gonna take me to the court date, so they tried to make me miss the court date, saying that they would not drive all the way out there. So I was asking Travis was spending all kind of money on me, so I was asking Travis, will you pay for me a cab? And he was acting like he was broke, that he couldn't pay for a cab for me to show up. I had the 911 calls. It was 19 911 calls from 13 different locations and 15 different witnesses that Austin was abusing me, and all of them reported him abusing me. None of them reported that it was me, because it was not me. Then he was doing it while I was pregnant with Melby as well, so it was calls dating back to before I got pregnant with him. He was charged for some stuff. It was calls dating back to while I was pregnant with Melbourne, around the time I found out I was pregnant with him. And then he had got a rape charge around that time. And then God said he was raping me and hitting me while I was pregnant. And so he had went to jail on a probation violation for assault. And then they was trying to change the charge that he was assaulting me and say he was assaulting a guard instead of the fact that he was really assaulting his baby mama. And then they put him on probation for that, and he kept assaulting me. He got out, put me in the hospital 3 or 4 times while I was pregnant with Melby, and I didn't know if he was alive, so I had to go to the hospital and be hooked up to monitors. And Melby was moving real slow, and my abdomen was hurting. He hurt my belly really, really bad. I'm sorry, because I just can't remember how it felt with him picking me up by my stomach and squeezing me and dragging me. And then after that, my stomach was hurting, and I was in my 3rd trimester, and Melbourne was a full-grown baby about to be born, and he was moving slow like a slug in my stomach after Austin did that to my belly. And it hurt so bad, and I couldn't walk, and I had to be in a wheelchair to go in the grocery store. Austin had to wheel me in a wheelchair. And then he kept trying to attack me while I was in labor with Melby in the hospital, at the Woodlands Hospital, and they had banned Austin from being able to be at the birth and called security, and they didn't want to let me leave the hospital to go back home with him because I was just in the beginning stages of labor. And then Austin had tried to make me have Melbourne in a parking lot because they said that he couldn't be at the birth, so he said he would not let me give birth to Melby at the Woodlands, where I had been getting my medical care from. And so I went to Conroe Regional and told them that I was going to have to give birth there, and they said it was okay. But when I actually went into active labor, they tried to make me have the baby outside, and it was just a lot of abuse, and they tried to refuse me anesthesia, and then they tried to steal Melbourne and not give them to me when I left the hospital. And when I got out of the hospital and I brought him home, Austin was throwing bottles at him, and I had to jump up on the bed, and I had to jump on Austin, and he was trying to punch me in my face, and he was punching my breast with the breast milk in it. And then he was kicking holes in the wall, and my dad, Andrew, had to try to stop and fight him while I was 9 months pregnant. He had to grab me and Austin and break us up because Austin was trying to fall all over Melby while he was 3 weeks old. He was trying to knock him out of his stroller in the mall, trying to flip the stroller over when he was only 5 weeks old. And I left and called the police and told them he was ransacking the home, and he went to prison. And he got out of prison, and Melby was 20 months old, and he was punching him in the back and knocking him on his head, and he was attacking me and picking me up. He raped me and got me pregnant. Then I started bleeding. I missed my period, and I started bleeding. And he was drinking and throwing up. I gotta take a break. Hold on. Let me take a break real quick.